This is How to Spot Fakes, another sneakerhead edition. Welcome to Qualify the Podcast. I'm your host, Hassan. We are here for closeout, but this is, again, another sneakerhead edition. Today, we're going to be talking about the industry of unauthorized editions, UA, if you want to call it that for those in the know. But today, we are here again, gracing our presence with guest Raw Kick CEO Toye, as well as Freedom Sneaker Club HTX CEO Alfredo. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
It's a long name. You know what I mean? So I was trying to...
It's a mouthful, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's real good. No, I'm really happy to see you guys again. Appreciate this. The conversation that led up to this really piqued my interest because, we may kind of all be victim to an unauthorized edition. So when I heard, after the last recording, talking out in the parking lot, and then you said, wow, I have some that are, UA edition shoes that are going to be really expensive and people are selling them at actual market price and also resale price. Mm-hmm. I said, there's got to be a way that we could have another episode to describe how this market is. And then also to make sure that at least we're educating people so that, buyer beware, because there are some people who actually don't care about this and they're going to buy them. And then there's people that do because they want to keep it authentic. I've previously voiced my opinion about even buying previously, worn, previously loved shoes.
Right.
I don't even buy them if they've been tried on too much at Foot Locker. But that's me, and I'm super picky.
Yes.
Some call it OCD, some call it eclectic. Right? Nonetheless, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great. No complaints.
Cool. We're in a new studio today. Thank you for Houston Podcast Studios. Shout out to them for providing the space. Really nice, really cool. It's going to be a good episode. It's going to be very informative. So that's how this conversation started for the listeners. Whether you're on audio or YouTube, just remember to like and subscribe. You can find us on all digital streaming platforms. We're here. The community is growing. We're seeing all the comments. We're seeing the growth. Shout out to our listeners overseas, within the UK, within Lebanon. I see you. We appreciate it. So let's get to it. The pair that we were talking about at first, I think Toye brought this up. The pair that we were talking about were Jordan 1s, mm-hmm. right? But Toye, it was the fact that the Jordan 1s came out. What type of ones? What edition were these?
As far as what?
The series, like the colorway.
I think it was the Chicago way.
Chicago colorway.
So the classic OG red, black, and whites.
Mm-hmm.
The one that everybody just absolutely loves and associates with Mike. I mean, that's the Jordan 1 of all Jordan 1s in the sneakerhead community, at least.
For sure. So then they bring out a UA edition of this, and they're selling it for the same price?
Yes and no. Retail price, right at maybe a little under retail. As far as the resale market, I mean, that shoe is probably going about $1,500 to $2,000 now. And that kind of goes to my opinion about UAs. Honestly, I don't have a problem with UAs. I have a problem with UAs that you're passing off as authentic. That's where my beef comes in for UAs. Okay. Now, is it a nice alternative to those that don't have $1,500, $2,000 to get a shoe that they want because Nike doesn't want to make more? Mm. Cool. If you want to rock them, cool. But the moment that you take that fake shoe, UA, and try to sell it to someone as if it was real, that's where I have the problem. Because you're getting into deception now, and that's not cool. Okay. Somebody's expecting to get an authentic pair, and it's 99% close, but it's not stamped by Nike.
Yeah, that's so this city, and I really can't speak on behalf of the city alone. Let me take that back. The way I've seen it, overseas, and I spent some extensive time overseas. I mean, I remember being overseas, and I went to the Jordan district in Hong Kong, and that is essentially like an open market, but it's like an open flea market, right? So I'm there, I'm going all the way to the end because I'm just buying things, and usually for me, I don't buy a lot of fake stuff intentionally, but I'm getting trinkets, right? So I just want a little bit of small, trinkets here, the little Buddhas, maybe some, wooden monkeys and things like that, but I make it all the way to the end. And then I see just a shoe rack full of Toms, because Toms were really popular back then. The standard Tom, it's kind of like a canvas, outline. Shoe rack full of them, a makeshift one. It's like the standard, warehouse style. I bought the whole rack of them, and I don't believe that I spent $100, right? And I think that, what is the MSRP 40 at the time, something like that, right? I know I didn't spend more than 100. I'm talking 100 Americans, probably somewhere around 850 HKD. But I did that knowing, right? And they were letting me know, I assure you, they're real, they're real. Hey, listen, I've bought things that fell off trucks. I've bought things that I knew were fake. Everybody knew the DVD man back in the day.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so I get it. But at the same time, I don't think I ever knew if they were a UA or if they were just an outright fake. The people that I gave them to didn't know that either. So, oh my God, you got all the Toms. Yeah, all the Toms, girl. So, but at the same time, I mean, I paid to ship them. I probably paid more to ship all those shoes back than I actually did in buying them. So, yeah, you're right. I understand that. I mean, there's a marketplace for it. A lot of people buy knockoff stuff because you can't tell the difference.
Right.
So they're willingly buying it just to say, hey, I had Louis, I got Louis, but it's not real. Right. They'll only tell that amongst their inner circle. I find it interesting. That's almost 3 different types of clients.
Correct. I have to agree with you on that. It's the traditional, I only buy authentics. There's your, I buy authentics, but I can't get the real, so I'll settle for an alternative. Yeah. And then there's those people that just don't care across the board. I need to look a certain way. If you got it, I need it. Okay. And I'll pay whatever I need to pay. I mean, even those fall into subcategories of the people buying the UAs. It's True. The people that only want to pay less than the retail, and there's the people that if the UA is good enough, sure, I'll drop the bag. Don't matter. So it's very interesting. All right. So then 2 questions. As a sneakerhead, so ambassadors of the culture that we are, right? As a sneakerhead, how do you feel about those who will buy a UA, right? I mean, let's just call this a judge statement. I don't really care. If you're sensitive about it, so be it. But we're talking about it. Okay. So let's call it a judgment statement. How do you feel about a sneakerhead buying a UA? I don't have a problem with a sneakerhead buying a UA. The thing about it is, like I said previously, it's just, and it's all brought on by the manufacturers of the shoe, by not making enough pairs for everyone to be able to have it, or not re-releasing them soon enough, the retros, to where if I came into the game later after the re-release, I don't know how much longer I have to wait. Let's say the Chicago ones, for example. I mean, the last re-release was, 2016? 2015? Yeah, like that. Okay. And I really didn't get heavy into it until like 2018, as far as going to get the pair. So now I'm at the mercy of Nike. When are you going to re-release it? Okay, if I want it now, I'm going to have to go third party to get it. Sure. And $1,500, $2,000. I mean, in my older age, in this age of investing and trying to build generational wealth, $2,000 for a shoe is just out of the question now. Yeah. I mean, that's a mortgage in some cases. That's a nice investment in Dogecoin for those that want to play in that crypto space. But it's up to me to decide, okay, where is my threshold? What is considered out of bounds as far as dollar amount for a shoe? Okay. So, Toy, what do you think?
I mean, to each his own. If, like you say, everybody not able to drop a bag on the shoe. Me personally, I stay away from UAs. Don't sell them. Don't buy them. If I can't
Don't
afford
do
it,
the sale
or
thing first.
no, I'm just saying, like, if I can't afford them aftermarket after they drop, after I missed them, me personally, I ain't messing with it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I do know people who trying to open a whole store with UAs. I disassociated myself with that clown. And I also know somebody. I also know somebody who is out here selling UAs as authentics, and it's like.
Okay, hold that thought though. So that's my second question.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part is from a buyer perspective, as we are buyers, as we're consumers. You get your pair, and of course you guys are sneaker resellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really the direction of where I was trying to go at first. Just your personal opinion about what you would spend your money on to actually put on your feet. So we have a okay if you want to do it, and no, not too cool, but do you, but not too cool. Fair. I think I'm Switzerland in this situation, right? Because first of all, y'all know me now. We're not even talking about things. If they did a UA of Elise, then all right, maybe we can start doing that, and have that conversation. But as far as the Jordan is concerned, I understand that the marketplace is held in two different areas between an authentic. I mean, clearly eBay has tried to jump into what StockX has already proven to be a very viable marketing scheme, which is verifying the authenticity prior to shipping out. Now eBay is doing that too. Almost certain Amazon's going to jump in on that next, right? However, if they're doing that, then they know that this in itself is something that the consumer demands.
Correct.
Or at least a high percentage of it. Fair enough. So on the flip side of that, if there's a UA, I can see this kind of being like just a separate class. You're welcome to do so. Now, as a community, we probably can't dictate how this is going to run. It would make the most sense. If this blows bigger than what it is and you're listening, here's where you heard it first. It would make the most sense that you classify these two openly into separate areas. And therefore, even if you have to do some sort of shielded or behind a wall of anonymity in order for purchasing, because again, it's a reputation online, you just let them purchase that way, but you also understand what you're getting. Because see, right now, if you order something from China, highly likely you're not going from a sneaker shop in China and or a sneaker shop in Pakistan getting them, or even South Korea. You're not getting them from the sneaker store. So if that's the case, go ahead and do that, but just understand that from a community standpoint, it's just not the thing to do, right? But okay, from a reseller standpoint, where does your brand, both of you, as you are separate brand entities, where does your brand stand on a UA?
Don't touch UAs.
No touchy. No touchy.
That is a no-no.
100% authentic.
100% authentic.
Okay.
I can't. I can barely buy from other resellers because I just don't know. So when I do my resale of sneakers, know that it's 100% authentic from a store, from the mall. It's going to be Foot Locker, Foot Action Champs, JD, Shoe Palace.
Yeah.
Because Nike's not sending them fakes. At least I don't think they are. But
Fair enough. Yeah.
but they're going to be authentic, stamped by Nike. These are real authorized sneakers, and that's all I touch. And it's got to be a trusted reseller that I deal with to even buy it from the secondhand market.
Sure. Okay.
But the brand, no fakes.
All right. So that's a great segue into knowing what's fake and what's not. Now I know you brought an example, but before we get into that, let's just talk about the fake and what they are. We'll just call them fakes. I mean, I don't really keep wanting to say UA.
UA is a marketing term that they put out there for fakes to make it sound.
But Under Armour is going to get mad. You know what I mean? And even though they aren't the hype, I'm still trying not to, anger Steph Curry. So you know what I mean? But yeah, so the fake ones, I initially, just for everyone else, full disclosure, I initially wanted to call this How to Spot the Fakes, but it really isn't about that. Alfredo corrected me. It's not really about how to spot the fakes. It's actually that they're so good, you won't be able to spot the fakes, which is even more scary because I might, just looking at the way my shoes are aging, I have some 10-year-old sneakers, not really wearing them. Some of them are oxidizing. Some of these things are coming apart in a way that back in the day when you used to, completely just wreck a shoe when you were a kid. Yeah, there's a reason why those shoes were talking. There's a reason why they were opening up at the stitching. I don't wear these shoes. So I don't know why they're, coming apart on this. Is the glue bad or, what's going on? So you got me really thinking. So I'm looking forward to you educating us on this process. So what are the most common places that typically you would be spotting a fake? Like what's the giveaway for fakes the way it used to be?
Fakes back in the day, like when we were in high school, they were very obvious. You can look at them, the quality of the materials on it, the stitching on it, the color of it's wrong, the size of it is just off. I mean, you immediately can see it. I mean, even some of the designs on it. I mean, what was the Dub Zeros with the SpongeBob on the side?
Yeah.
Come on. Nike never dropped the SpongeBob Jordan. Get out of here with that. Seriously.
And then you got a lot of them that try to pass off UAs as customs.
Right.
Like when they drop colorways that they ain't never been released, and you trying to say, but you got a full run of customs. That's a dead giveaway right there.
Now, I'm gonna leave this little tip. I'm just gonna say this, and hopefully, Nike has been known to be inspired by some of those fake colorways, and then next thing you know, years down the road, Nike drops that colorway that was fake 10 years ago.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I just wanted to drop that out there. That sometimes these guys making these customs or these fakes, Nike's watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a car manufacturer that I don't really feel like saying because I might mess up some sponsor money down the line. But there was a car manufacturer that did the same thing too. Because, the street racing scene used to be hot in Houston. Now it's kind of upped in the tax bracket. So like if you can afford the Class B felony, then okay, cool. But back in the day, Fast and Furious 1, right, within that era bracket, when everyone was modifying cars, what this certain car manufacturer did is that the street racers did all the R&D. So they were doing swaps of engines into the cars because you want to get more horsepower, right? Or it's a better platform to build from. So they would swap out all the engines, put in, let's just say a 2.0 was the standard 2-liter engine, and then you get a 2.4 liter because it would fit in the engine bay. And then let's just say you so happen to turbocharge said 2.4 liter engine, right? That manufacturer was studying this in the forum boards because this is before all the rest of it. There was no YouTube at this time. So we're talking about chat rooms, right? Cyber chatting and forum boards where they're in there as, fake avatars listening in on all of these conversations and taking those ideas, doing it to their R&D and making a street racing technology brand that had the same platform, 2.4 liter turbocharged engines, and that dominated. That dominated in the small car bracket, but it came from the street racers. It came from those customizers. It came from the independents. Then they took that and ran with it, made a crap ton of money off of it. I know big brands are watching just to see what everyone's doing on a mainstream scale. If customized colors were, and they are, when that was really, really popping though, it makes perfect sense that Nike and others would be looking at them to say, well, that colorway worked and we can Pantone that, so why not, just make it on their next re-release.
Exactly.
And I almost don't have a problem with that. I really don't. Maybe there's a segue in this conversation about how brands like Nike have been watching the smaller businesses to see what they're doing. And I actually would like your opinion on it because I talked to Toy about this a lot. But I'm not mad at the color. I'm not mad at the color watching.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with people who customize. I'm saying, like, prime example, you got a gold and red 11, Jordan 11,
Yeah.
and you got a full size run, but you trying to pass that off as a custom because you don't want to say that it's fake. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying people who are out here actually painting and changing colorways of shoes, because there's a lot of that going on.
Sure.
Like I said, I got my Nipsey Hustles, but passing off shoes that ain't never released as a custom because you don't want to say it's fake. Like that's how a lot of people getting got too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Why I think about it is because the 270s that I have, that I told you, right? I said, I don't know if these are fake or not, but I hadn't seen anybody else with them. Like nobody. And usually you're going to see at least, 3, 4, right? 270s was it was a hype shoe at the time. And then it just became like a gym rat's mainstay because the Reebok Zig was that. And then they made an Adidas that everyone liked too. But then it came to the, that Air Max 270 came in and like people just had to have it. mostly women. But I mean, but you know what I'm saying. Like it just kind of looked like you accentuated the heel, and I don't think guys are really dealing with that as far as like buying it at the time. But every woman in the gym had them. So fair enough. I think it was either maybe an overseas size or overseas woman size shoe that I just happened to be able to wear, or they just were a UA, right? And I don't know that yet. But when it started to oxidize, like this started, it was white. It's all white, but it's slightly off in the white synthetic. So like, it's probably nylon. We just call it nylon, but it's different color white nylon than it is the plastic rubber that goes around it. And I just thought that was weird. It's like it almost doesn't match, right?
I can understand that, but I can't say that that is a signal of a fake shoe, because there's factory sneakers that I keep bringing up Nike, but I mean, that's what I deal with. They literally dropped this shoe early this year, the Carmines, and those were turning pink on the soles. You had the threes, with the SN stamped on it, the black and white threes.
Yeah. The
Fragment threes.
Okay.
Fragment threes, a high-end shoe with collaboration with a Japanese. I think Fragment is a Japanese like clothing supplier, but those are starting to oxidize on the back now. And I wish, actually, I got a pair downstairs, but brand new. I haven't worn them, and if I took it out the box, it's starting to oxidize around the box. I mean, back of it, like
you wore it.
You think I've worn it, and I haven't even put it on my feet. I haven't tried them on. It's just, and that's some of the problems, and how some of the UAs are getting. How some of the fakes are getting away with what they're doing, because there are factory flaws that are coming from Nike that's acceptable.
Sure.
So when you see that on a fake, well, Nike does the same thing too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that goes into it.
Wow.
So it's crazy.
It is.
And it's almost legitimizing fakes.
Yeah.
And it's out of control.
That is out of control. Cause see, you know, I can almost accept shelf life, issues, right, with air and oxidation and things like that. I can almost accept that, just temperature where you keep it. Okay. When you're starting to talk about a discoloring, or when you're starting to talk about perhaps glue coming apart or eroding faster than normal, I can almost accept that. If you're looking at a stitching issue, then okay, different. Now we know that was either made on Hangover Monday or it's actually a fake, right? Which if you look at what goes to Marshalls versus what goes to Macy's, that's what we're talking about. So okay, I mean, fair enough. I understand it. So more on what used to be dead on obvious with fakes. What other stuff?
So from my understanding, and how I guess these large sneaker companies do it, I mean, there's multiple factories that they send their design to in China. And each one of those factories are basically making batches for Nike's approval. So, and then Nike goes to each one of these factories, like inspect them. Okay, this is a little off. We're not going to go with that batch. Go to the next factory, maybe, this color is a little off, but no. Then we go to the third factory. Okay, this is what we want. Put the stamp on it. Run us X amount of pairs.
Yeah.
Those other two factories that ran all of those batches, I mean, 80, 90% close to what Nike want. What are they going to do with those pairs?
Right.
They're not going to throw them away.
Right.
That's money down the drain.
Right.
They got to go somewhere. And they're just so close. I mean, it's minute things in the shoe that they don't get right that cause it not to be authorized. Okay. So some resellers are getting a hold of those at really good pricing. Half of retail, maybe even more than half of what you would pay in the store. And they're putting it on their sites. They and they're pushing it out to the masses. Now, the thing about these guys, sometimes they're getting more pairs than your box stores. These guys, I mean, there's been 2 or 3 recent releases that the big box mall stores could not get and was extremely late in getting their inventory. But you can go on Instagram and there are resellers with full-size runs, and not only full-size runs a month early. And it's like, how are you pulling it? You got these stores, they are billion dollar companies.
Yeah.
And you mean tell me this lonely person here in Houston or wherever is able to get more pairs before this company does? And it's insane.
So I'm going to theorize. I'm not going to use the C word. I'm going to theorize that now, knowing what I know in terms of developing brand, as well as, talking about apparel overseas with overseas manufacturers, these are the same manufacturers that are dealing with the major labels, right? So when I started to look at clothes that I buy now, when I used to look at them earlier, but I had family in the military, and they were overseas with it. So they would be in Korea and they would get all the shoes. And now I'm starting to think, were you buying UAs, or was there a factory at the time? I might be talking about the 90s now. So was there a factory at the time that you could pick these up, right? Could be. I bought a lot of Converse. I'm talking about way then, when I was not really paying attention to this in this particular direction, but I could see that they were made in Indonesia. So, well, gee, why are they made all the way out there, right? Okay, well, you're saving money. I get you. Shout out to Roger Robinson, Ottawa Fashion. We actually learned this. I mean, I might have been 19, 20 years old when I learned it, but he was starting to talk about where things get sewn, right? He's talking about doing jeans at the time. And so they're talking about sewing things on in different areas. So the jeans would be purchased, like the raw denim would be purchased in one area, but then they would get sewn and stitched together in another. So you mean in theory, and it's not to say that he was doing this at the time, but me thinking expansively, in theory, you're saying it makes more sense and costs less money for you to buy raw denim overseas, then take the template, send it over to another overseas country. All right, so they're going to try to truck that over, maybe if not, ship it over by plane. So you're going to truck it over to them, where they have the schematics on how to stitch it all together, and then they would individually, like in India, sew on the labels. And you're still saving more money than doing what, let's say, American Apparel is, which is in the middle of Los Angeles, a decade ago, doing all of their stuff on their own. It is mind-boggling to me how that actually makes sense. But I'm not saying Levi's did this, but for a Levi's level company, buying stuff in bulk that much, it kind of does make sense, because you're saving a couple of $1 million versus American Apparel making a less size run, so to speak, of authentic clothes, right? But back to the manufacturing aspect of the shoes, if that's happening too, the inspector, because I also learned about inspectors, we have to pay that inspector to go look at your stuff for quality and mass production, and then they will call you and say, no, this is good. So Nike could pay somebody in said country to go inspect it, but that inspector could probably get bought out. They could get paid off.
Right.
They authorize 1,000, or excuse me, don't authorize 1,000. Sit those to the side, and then we'll work on shipping those over. Now that I know how much, let's just say a Pakistani dollar is not a dollar, but how much a Pakistani dollar is compared to an American dollar, it makes a lot of sense that they can do that.
A lot of cost savings for them, for sure. Yeah. And it's definitely advantageous for them to take advantage of that discrepancy in the price.
Yeah.
It's what can you do?
I will say this. I know for sure Nike is not sending individuals 1 and 2 pairs. After dealing with somebody who's trying to get a store and trying to get accounts and stuff like that, you got to go through hell and back to get a Nike account and keep it. So they definitely not just sending 1 and 2 pairs. You got to spend a certain amount with Nike in order to get anything. And you can't just get Jordan. You got to get, you can't just get exclusive Jordan. You got to get everything, like the Air Max. You got to get the BS shoes along with the high end shoes that's gonna sell. You got to take all that, and you got to get the apparel. Like I said, you got to spend a certain amount. So if you got a cat that's talking about he can get you 1 or 2 pair and it's gonna take a week, it's definitely not coming from authorized resale. It's definitely coming from overseas because they the only ones who can sell you individual shoes.
Right.
Okay. So I go to a store. The store is going to have the Nike 1 or the Jordan 1, and they're also going to have the Jordan 30. Right? No one's buying the 30. You laughed.
Right.
No one's buying the 30.
Nobody.
No one's buying the 29. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to come around to it, right? But or not. I don't know. I'm not buying a 1. But if they don't buy those, they still had to have them, right? Because they had to buy the Nike package, is what you're saying.
Right.
Right. So apparel, shoes, socks.
And then
accessories.
it's different tiers too. Like you get a tier 0 store, they're gonna get all the exclusives, but it's not gonna be the same as the stores that a mom and pop is gonna get. Like you got politics, you got years, social status. They're gonna get more of the exclusive high end shoes than the regular, let's say, active athlete
Okay.
or regular Foot Locker and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's like it is different levels to it, but it's you still not gonna get 1 and 2 pairs sent to you
No.
or just exclusively Jordans only, or you want like say with New Balance, it's I don't necessarily say it's one of the easier accounts to get, but a lot of stores when they first start off, they do start with Adidas and New Balance, but you gotta work to get that Nike account. Like you gotta have a storefront, you gotta have an established name before you can get you a Nike account.
Interesting.
Unless you're a celebrity.
They go through hell too. Like
get-
go back and look at Fat Joe's interview. Fat Joe sponsored by them and still had hell getting
Really?
up NYC going. So
I was looking at some. Oh, you're talking about for the store? Yeah, I was
Yeah.
talking about like 1 or 2 pairs. Like, okay, the baby's getting a pair or 2.
but see that's a whole different
that's a
conversation.
right.
But I'm talking about like as far as if you buying a pair from somebody who claim they're a reseller and they can get their stuff directly from a manufacturer, that's a lie right there.
That's I agree with that.
Yeah. Now celebrities, that's just we already know what that is. That's,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a
that's
whole
DJ
different conversation.
Khaled.
Yeah.
That's them pushing the agenda.
Yeah.
That's them
Yeah.
showing, hey, I got this shoe. We
That's
wanna
them
make this
getting
shoe
paid by
platform
Jordan
popular.
too.
And you getting paid.
Yeah.
And you get your own shoe.
Yeah.
And you get kickbacks from that because you're a celebrity.
I need
I
to be
get
a
it.
celebrity.
Yeah. Be a celebrity.
Yeah, that's the goal. I just want the sneakers. That's all. Just
Yeah. Whatever's gonna provide the
yeah,
hookup.
just send them to me.
All right, well, let's keep talking about stuff, and we'll just get some sponsorship in here. And next time we won't be bringing our own to discuss. They'll say, hey, Nike is bringing these in. They heard what we said and they didn't like it. Because what I'm going to say next is probably going to hit their ears. Right? So, Raw Kicks went through a little bit of trouble.
Let me cut in before we get too deep into it. This whole segment of the conversation we got to cut out.
This part here, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
if you were supposed to be in the loop of this information, you missed it. Oh, wow. Okay. Nonetheless,
It's like,
don't sell fakes.
Yeah.
So
It's like, John.
we saw it with Steve Buscemi. He's the first one that I saw or noticed that got in trouble for this. I think he just probably made the article when I was reading magazines at the time because it wasn't online. I remember physically reading this in a magazine. Might have been Complex, right? And so since then, he's kind of become legendary for being the person who beat that, so to speak. And then there have been others along the way, that took the Nike platform and physical shoes, took the Nike platform, redesigned, very close to the actual platform, and they're selling them like hotcakes.
John Mayer, didn't he Nike ID, where you can go make your own custom colorway. He went and made his own custom colorway on Nike ID, then went on their site and bought every shoe in that color that he created.
Wow.
To where they had none in stock. He made his own inventory. He called them the Air Bears. He signed the box, and he was reselling the shoe. I don't remember him getting in any
Wow.
trouble for that.
Well, that's a
I would
very
say
good loophole.
At that point, you can't because Nike got their money off of it. And
Right.
At this point, that's aftermarket, so
Yeah.
that's considered
But
custom.
for him to take the Air and just throw his name on it and sign a Nike box, I mean, how do you get away with that? Like is celebrity?
I mean, not even celebrity. We can do it. You can write Air on top of that, or you can sign that. You pay for it.
Okay.
Theory.
I don't advise it,
Theory.
but it's not like you taking anything. You didn't go make that shoe,
Right.
and Nike not getting anything out of it at all.
Right,
Like you
that's
didn't
true.
you didn't steal the platform, like most of these cats out here doing.
Yeah.
Like you see most of them that are making their own shoe, they making ones because why? One is a
Easier platform to
hot
get.
selling shoe.
Yeah.
And it's an easy platform to access too.
It is. But
Can't
Nike
see too many
got
fake
all.
Jordan 11s.
That's what I say. Yeah, Nike got all that trademarked. So
Yeah, well, for sure. Young boy that did the resale of the Satan shoe. I cannot remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Lil Nas X.
yeah.
Lil Nas X.
Yes.
Okay, so that isn't a. I mean, I'm sure for brand association, they didn't want to be, so they didn't want anything to do with it. But they didn't tell him to not sell it because they were already bought and modified and then resold.
The-
But they did the same thing with the like a walk on water, the Jesus
That- I was
version of
just
the
about to
shoe.
say
So they ain't do nothing with that shoe. It's just with all of the backlash they got with this one because it's supposed to be, you know, like devil related.
Yeah.
That's when they decided to disassociate and sue and do everything else after that. But it's like that's still when you cross into the custom game. You know, it's like you
Right.
still so basically you mad because it's messing up your name.
Yeah.
Which I get. So you know.
No, I understand it. It's just a matter of was there a violation there? Like, so what that means to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go to buy a shoe, and then you customize it, and you so happen to be on a platform that you're incredibly popular, right? So enough everyone's are going to see it. That's one thing. Those Nipsey Hussle shoes, they wouldn't have anything to say about that, right? So the entire executive board of Nike would look at that and say, "Hey, that's a bad look for us," right? I'm sure they can find an argument for it, but they haven't, and that means a lot of other people have kind of skirted past it with that in mind, up until the point this becomes what they think is a bad look for them. But the question is, are you doing this because it's a slander, or you feel like it's somewhere of a slander to your brand, or was there a line that was crossed that you have not imposed on anybody else until this happened? And I think that's where we go into the fair versus unfair thing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's interesting because I don't even know how to really address that question. Is because, like Toy said, when it was the Jesus walk on water shoe, it's fine. I think once the controversy hit and people came out and said Nike did this, Nike worked with Lil Nas X and that customized it to release this shoe, I felt like that's when Nike had to jump in, like, whoa, hold on. So even though they did this, people had the same opinion when it was the Holy Water 95s.
Sure.
But it just once became controversial in the public eye, that's when they had to step in. Because, I mean,
Yeah, because you had a lot of people saying they wasn't buying Nikes no more, and that's when Nike was like, they had to step up and say that they're not associated with the shoe.
right.
But yes, fair. And a lot of people have done that. You know, somebody steps out of line and they're a higher celebrity. Sometimes their promotions company, sometimes their agency, sometimes the production company says, hey, listen, the views, they do the disclaimer on most controversial shows. The
Right.
views expressed by this person are not those of Paramount Studios, for argument's sake. And Nike could easily have done that. What I've seen, again, just looking at it from my lens, what I saw is that they did a lot more than that. I saw that they did, hey, you got to stop this. Not, hey, we don't have anything to do with it. Not just that. They said,
Yeah, like
you
it's a whole
stop
lawsuit.
doing that.
Yeah.
It's a whole lawsuit. And that's really where my question is could you do that? And if you can do that, why haven't you done that before? That means that everything's cool until it's not cool to you, right? So anybody can do whatever they want until it affects you at a certain level, even though all of it falls in the context of what you could stop.
Right.
That's where I have a problem with a corporation picking and choosing who they want to squash,
There's a gray area
Right.
in that.
which is right back to insert blank here, which is right back to that situation,
Right.
which is, well, there's so much more happening at a higher level. Is that profiting you now all of a sudden? Or, like, why are you not stopping that? It's not like we got off on a rabbit trail. That actually is a very valid conversation. I'm glad we got it. I'm going to bleep out what we need to bleep out, but I'm glad we caught on to it.
Yeah.
Because the industry in itself is a part of this fake machine.
Yes.
It's somewhere down the line. I mean, they're going to benefit from it, right? We just saw the lady have to step down, right? I mean, that happened,
Yeah.
you know. And how did that not hurt Nike stock more than the people saying, "Hey, I don't want to buy the red and black shoes because of what, because of Satan worshiping," which is, I understand it, but how did the previous incident not affect Nike's brand more than that one did?
That's a good question, because this lady, was she a VP?
She's a VP.
Using the corporate card to buy shoes for her son to resell, and
claiming you don't know nothing about it.
and claiming you don't know nothing.
He had a forklift pallet worth of shoes.
He had a whole warehouse.
In
He
a
had an
warehouse.
entire
His own
warehouse.
warehouse.
I've seen the YouTube video of them touring, and they covered his face like he was anonymous in this video, but
Yeah.
they showed everything
Yeah.
in this. Factory. I mean, it's
Yeah, he has like a family and friends edition Nike jacket on, like you can only get if you're an
right.
employee.
I mean, he has some stuff on. It's like, okay, you got to know somebody at
Yeah,
headquarters to be wearing that. Where'd
he's
you
got
get
like
that?
prototype LeBrons on.
I mean, he's probably wearing I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, how did that not get more backlash than? I mean, because supposedly she was also over Sneakers app, and Sneakers app is our access to the sneakers,
Yeah.
and we don't hit very often.
Yeah,
The bots do, which
Yeah.
you can do a whole segment on.
he does.
Right, he does.
He's hitting like an MF.
Right. I mean,
Right.
and you go on Instagram and everybody puts up a poll every shoe release. Did you hit?
Yeah,
And for those exclusive ones, 12 to 18% of the population hit. The other 80 plus, no. But your son is coming back with a bunch of shoes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
interesting.
So not to stay too long on this segment, but what I do feel like is that there's a pick and choose about what the corporation is going to spend their money on suppressing, right? As with most people who have the power to do so, they would just say, okay, that's way too hot. Now we can do this social media marketing flame and we can put that out, but this one we need to extinguish right now. Don't put any more money towards this. Let's strip it from Google. Let's do all that stuff. You can scrub Google if you got the money for it. And I think it was in their best interest to get that done quick.
Yeah, it was affecting the sale of almost any red and black shoe they were putting out at that point.
Yeah.
There was a Air Max 95 that came out after that. What was it? A 98, 97s? That was that. Yeah, the 97s was the silhouette based on that they used for that double shoe. They later came out with a Air Max 95, same exact colorway. And I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm not buying those. They look too close to these devil shoes." Like I got family members that were calling me, "You reselling those devil shoes?" No, one, they're devil shoes, and two, they cost $1,000 to even get.
Yeah,
Now they were reselling for $2,000, $2,500. Somebody was buying them.
sure,
So-
sure.
666 of them made.
Right.
So
That's
that's what I say. Like you had to be connected somewhere along the line with either Nike or somebody. Because how do you just get 600 pair of Air Max
Right.
to customize in the first place?
yeah.
Unless they're UA.
Well,
Talk about it.
and
That's what I'm saying.
that brings us to the UAs again.
Talk about it.
So let's get educated on the example that you brought.
Yeah. This was a very popular shoe, and any sneakerhead or even reseller, as soon as you see the box, you know exactly what this shoe is and how hot this shoe was. This is the Jordan 4 University Blue, and it's based off of a PE or player exclusive that was released to the University of North Carolina. Their version of the shoe looks a little different than this one, but this one is so close to theirs that everybody wants it. So the thing about this shoe is one, yeah, the box is spot on to what was released in stores. Even to the gloss of it. I mean, it's dead on. When you take the shoe out, you'll see how good this shoe is from the tag that's on the side, the color, the suede, the feel, the weight, it's very difficult to tell if this shoe is real or if it's fake. I mean, everything about it, they nailed. It's like they had the blueprint of how to make this shoe. Now, when some people take these to like legit checkers, there's normally some type of tell on here that will let you know. One popular thing that legit checkers like to do is the blacklight test to see if there's any guidelines or anything in the stitching that will make this not look right. So if you look, I mean, normally there's like a guideline or something to indicate. So if you were wearing this shoe in the mall, picnic, barbecue, whatever, those are fresh. These are clean. And one thing that I joke about is like, you'll know who got these fake Jordans on when you go to the club that night. And that light hit it.
Okay.
And you'll see certain things that don't look right. Right offhand, I can show you there are guidelines right here in the netting that are used to properly cut the material. And you can see those. No pair from a authorized source will have these guidelines. These will automatically fail the authorization tests.
Okay.
And when Nike get a hold of these, like, okay, yeah, that's not going to work. But normally the stitching is a little off. I mean, this stitching is spot on. You can kind of see a guideline right here. Barely, but I mean, you go around the entire shoe, there's another guideline that you can see right there inside the netting. But for the most part, everything is spot on. Nobody's coming up to you in the mall with a black light to say, hey man, let me check to see if those are real.
Except for young boy who does diamond tests and things. You know, that's kind of popular.
That is kind of popular. And you can see guidelines right here on the back here where the tongue is.
Yeah.
You can see them. Now,
I'm saying like we discovered a pearl or something.
right.
Like, I can see it though.
Yeah,
It's
you
cool.
can see it. So that's one of the biggest ways to tell if a shoe is real or if a shoe is fake.
Okay.
The problem is, and
You get the black one.
it's very popular on YouTube, and I actually researched it out. If you know how to get rid of those guidelines, you would. And it's very easy to get rid of those guidelines. All you need is a heat gun.
Oh.
Heat gun it, disappears.
Okay.
If you knew that, you can easily pass this off as an authentic pair from some of these sources that bring these sneakers in, even are hip to the game of the popular resell third-party platforms to buy these sneakers and provide you everything that you need to say these are authentic. A little trend that I'm starting to see some people are doing, they're wearing these now on the shoe to show that they're real. That doesn't cut it anymore because I can get that from the unauthorized source all day.
Is that the same as doing that with the baseball hats? You know, keeping the
Keeping the tag on
hat?
similar type of thing like that to show that those are real.
So you can buy 20 of those
So
StockX things, put those on all your shoes.
right.
Because they're the old StockX logo.
Right. That is not the same tag that they use today. But not enough people buy from StockX to really know that.
Okay.
But the thing about this shoe, as close to real as it is, not only could I buy this shoe less than what I would buy from a box store, I can get it earlier. And the more I buy, the cheaper the shoe is. So this retailed for what, 200?
Okay.
If you wanted to buy just one pair, it's like 175 bucks. And if you're buying 10, 20, a whole box load,
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
If you wanted a whole box, I'm pretty sure it's even cheaper than that.
Wow. Yeah, because you're buying wholesale.
You're
That's
buying-
my point.
depending on
You're
where
buying
you get it
UA
from.
wholesale.
Right. So it's insane that the quality of fakes now are so good that it's hard to tell. Now, that goes back to my original theory. Like, if this is a shoe that you sought after and you wanted really, really bad, and nobody in the mall got it, and you don't want to pay 500 bucks for it, and it's something that you just want to put on feet,
Rock on.
by all means, hey,
Yeah.
do you and knock yourself out. But when you go on Instagram and showing 40, 50 pairs before the store gets it, and you're trying to, show yourself as a legit reseller, that's where I have the problem.
And you charging $400 or $500.
And then you
for 'em?
charging $450 for them as if they were real. Look how good this is. Even that little sticker.
Yeah.
Is in, they got to get it from somewhere,
Yeah.
and they're getting it from the source.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just, the only difference is Nike didn't come in and said your batch is the batch.
Not even the material is different. Like that new book is the same as the new book that you get on your regular one.
Yeah, when I was reselling the shoe a couple of weeks ago from the authorized store, I inspected it. It's dead on. It's absolutely.
So yeah, I wish I had my pair here so we could have compared them side by side. Because you
You
looking at it like this, you really couldn't tell.
and
But that's why I say if you're not somebody who know all of the details and know about all of the black light and doing
Yeah.
all of that, like you
Just
can go
don't
out, you can go out and sell that pair for the same $300-400 that it's going for a resale because you dealing with somebody who don't know the difference. They just looking at the fact that they want the shoe.
if you're dealing with clientele that wants to stunt for the gram or have shoes early, you can get away with this all day. One, because normally if you had a real pair early,
Yeah.
that kind of gives you the green light to charge more because it hasn't been out.
Sure.
But now that you can get 90% as close to retail as close to the authorized pair as possible, nobody's rolling up on you in the mall to say, hey man, let me black light check that.
Okay.
You gotta, and it's hard to compare when the retail pair is not even out yet,
Yeah.
and this is all you have.
True.
What are you going to compare it to?
You got to take it at
You
face
got
value.
to, and some people know it's fake, don't care.
Yeah. Would it? So this bothers me now in the thought process of a celebrity, right, getting early releases because they're celebrity, right? And someone's like, "Hey, let me get you this pair, right, of with these UNC 4s,
Yeah, you can call it that. Yeah.
right? So get you a pair of UNC 4s right now before anybody else gets them. Bet, send that because they want that, right? And then they're going to be the first ones with it. Are you saying that there is a high percentage opportunity that those aren't going to be real?
I
There's somebody
Yeah.
on YouTube, there's somebody on Instagram right now
Right now is exactly what
selling
I thought
a bunch of celebrities shoes.
of. Right now.
And he got pages out talking about he's scamming, he's selling UAs, all kind of stuff. And he every week, like he got followers, and every week he posted a different celebrity that he's selling to, like that he's endorsed. So
Is that probably so? From the celebrity standpoint, then, is that of the mindset that they could say theoretically that, hey, I got these before anybody else, knowing good and well that they probably aren't real, but I know that the shoe is going to come out anyway.
Right.
And if you got them within a bandwidth of release time, like maybe a month or 3 before they came out, you know that the shoe isn't going to change intrinsically in production at that
Correct.
time because it's already made. They just
already-
need to figure out when to release it.
Correct.
So it's not going to change at all in production. So you probably run the risk of still keeping your cred, saying, I got these before anybody else, although they're fake, but everyone else has the same type of shoe as me. I just got mine early.
Right.
yeah,
That's a
and then-
strategic
And then you
theory.
have something that's like, well, I'm me. Who's gonna question that?
Right.
Right. But for y'all who definitely know how this works, you would say, well, you didn't even get a real shoe. Interesting. You just blew my mind with this now. So
we were talking in the last podcast about that Grant Hill 2 that you wanted.
yeah. Did you find it?
I haven't found it,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure there's someone in China
Yeah, I'm sure.
that has made a 99% as
Yeah.
close as possible shoe.
Yeah.
Because you've contacted the factory, you've contacted the manufacturer,
Sure. Yeah.
and look for your size, and they don't have it.
Yeah. They don't have it.
Somebody in China got it,
Somebody-
and it's pretty doggone close to the original.
Yeah.
And let me present this question to you. If you had a pair, because you don't want nobody to try it on, you want a brand new DS, get that. If somebody presented the shoe you've been looking for and tell you that it's unauthorized, would you wear it?
To be continued.
Nope.
I can't in good conscience say yes. Right. I'll give you the full expansive version of it. Like, I can't in good conscience say yes because I know what I'm doing at that point. Like, that secret's between me, who I bought it from, and God.
Right.
And I know that he's watching, and I can't do this.
He's watching you wear it.
He's watching, I'm wearing it, right? And so I don't like it in that theory, but then there's another side of that coin, which is I'm not ever going to sell them. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I understand. I don't sympathize. I empathize with the person who says, "Hey, listen, it don't matter to me. I just want them." But you don't have them in that theory.
And
they're not real.
And you're not going to get them because you've
they're
spoken
out of
to the
production.
manufacturer. They told you you're not going to get them.
I myself personally can call China and get this done.
You could.
And I'm still saying, I probably don't want to do that, like, because it's kind of against the ethics. Right. But yeah, I get it. No, I can't say that I would.
Yeah.
I can't say that I would at all.
But there's some people out here that I got to have it. There's certain grails that people want. They got to
And then
have.
some people buy, like you say, some people buy them for the price point.
Yeah.
Some people buy them for decorations, just to decorate their room. I'm pretty sure a lot of these YouTubers that got all these shoes in the background. Come on.
We saw that was
So
cardboard.
that was a cardboard box.
Yeah, there's a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
But for the hype of the channel, and if you want to have some expensive looking shoes in the back,
Good decorum. Really good decorum.
Hey,
Yeah.
buy it as a decorative piece. I mean, it
Makes sense. I'd like this to be an expansive conversation. I really want to revisit it because I'm educated. I mean, this is what the podcast is all about. I like shoes. I like stuff. Stuff costs money. What I would spend my money on is something that I would be able to look at and say without question, I earned this, so therefore I purchased this as just as an exploit, right? But I don't necessarily think that it's not for shoes. Not for shoes. I can't say I would. Like I'm talking about something that I'm going to use for over and then maybe something else we have a different conversation about, but not this. This is a cultural thing for us. Like I can't do it.
but everybody has that scenario where think about that single parent that want to get some nice shoes for their kids because they're getting picked on at school.
Yeah.
And they're going to beat them up anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go pay $450 for nothing
Yeah.
for you to go tear up. But
Now is the question of, all right, are we teaching ethics or are we teaching conformity?
Yeah.
Or do you just teach a kid how to throw a left hook and then they'll leave you alone?
Right.
So but I understand your point. I totally understand your point.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Though, but
Sydney, if you're listening.
But the thing that we want to show is that these things are just so well done now.
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
sneakers are so well done now.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and it's something that's been brought onto us because the manufacturers don't make enough pair, and they like the exclusivity of their shoe. I don't know if it just builds up their brand or what, but they are creating the monster of
This industry, this secondary industry,
industry.
marketplace. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some unauthorized resellers out there that are making bank,
For sure.
really good money.
Yeah.
And in the course that I just took, one of the people said, like, you made it when your clothes was being bootlegged.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory. You know, like I say, you know, you made it when Big Boy taps you on the shoulder. You know, you made it when your clothes are being bootlegged. Yeah, you know, you made it when they hate on you.
Yeah.
You know, like when you make it to the shade room, you know, you made it. Like that's not a bad theory. All right, so let's pause this and we'll do a continuation on the next episode. This is Alfredo with Freedom Sneaker Club, HTX, as well as Raw Kicks Toy. We're in the building. This is a great look. I'm thoroughly educated, mind blown. But remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Also find us on all digital streaming platforms. You can search QLAFD, Qualified Podcast, on Instagram as well as Twitter. This is Hassan, H-Town Stand Up.